Okay guys, this is the third time I have tried to make this video for y'all. I have the worst luck ever when it comes to uploading videos. I can't even. Alright, it's partially why I haven't uploaded anything in forever besides readings, because uploading to YouTube, I'm sorry, is just like the biggest pain in the ass ever. I don't know how people do this like for a living these days. I could never. My patience is expended very easily when it comes to technology. Okay, so today I would like to answer or attempt to answer a question that I had from someone for the third time. That someone had as far as a little technique that I use, and they wanted to know why I use the bottom card in the deck when I do readings for people. And really and truly, this does not have a source in any book that I know of. It's not something that I picked up from someone. It's someone that I kind of just, something that I really just picked up myself, and just developed over time. I remember I started doing it in college when I had only been reading for about 2 years, and it's just something that clicked. It made sense. And I've always interpreted the bottom card of a reading to represent sort of the overall source of the situation, the overall any kind of hidden factors that are source material for whatever data you've received in your reading. You know, because that's really what a reading is in some ways. You've given a lot of data, and you have to sort of weave it together into a system that makes sense, using the powers of intuition and whatever. I mean, you guys know I use resonance to deal with that and to create bridges and connections. And of course, resonance is a very vague thing. You know, you can use either categories like astrology, element, etc., or you can use just whatever intuitive things you've developed as a reader. You know, because we all have different languages for mental languages of symbols that we use in reading and different interpretations. But anywho, that's really all it is. You know, I read sometimes up to 10 cards down if I feel that the information that far down is relevant to the reading. After a while, you know, you can do up to 5, you can do up to 3. You know, it really depends on whatever you're comfortable with. If you know, you can pick an arbitrary number, you can change your number like I do. I sort of just do whatever the spirit moves me to do at a given time. So there really isn't much of a science, which is very unlike me, I realize, but there isn't much of a science to this technique, which is kind of what I like about it. It allows for a more organic reading process, which is kind of cool, because it does allow you to sort of sift for extra information that will allow you to flesh out whatever story you are trying to weave in the main reading. Of course, the main reading is going to give you your major points, your important general information for the reading, and is a little more grounded because it's positional, of course. You know, um, whereas sifting through the bottom just does give you extra details for things. And like I said, I always interpret it as sort of hidden information because it's on the bottom of the deck, either stuff that is more from a spiritual perspective or stuff that the querent is either not acknowledging in some way or doesn't realize you know, this information is connected to the reading or situation at hand, um, or stuff that they're not necessarily telling you, but that is still important for your interpretation of the reading and in order for you to help the person, you know. Because I do think, you know, and this is just my philosophy, that the tarot really genuinely wants us to help our querents. You know, I don't think that any of us have ever received a reading ever in which we have, you know, given detrimental information to anyone. You know, there is this very magical benevolence about doing tarot for people. And I think that the information you get on the bottom is intended for that purpose, to help you in order to help them. You know, because if you don't have a clear understanding of the overall objective or meaning of the reading, then really how are you supposed to help your querent understand the message of the reading. You know, it's so important for us to be able to give the querent that overall message. And the message should be very singular and clear. It should not be scattered. It should not be a number of different things, though I suppose it could be, but there should be an overall clear statement that you should be able to say to your querent and repeat to your querent so that it really sinks in. Because, you know, in a reading you give someone an overload of information, you know, and it's important that they don't get lost in the mire of details that you give someone, you know, because of course as a reader, at least when I read, I find that I get things come to me at random, you know, and I tend to jump around, as you guys know, and go from thing to thing to thing as things come to me and as realizations come to me and connections are made. I don't believe in linear reading. I think that reading is supposed to be a very organic process, because the intuition is a very organic force. It isn't really regimented in any way. We use regimented techniques in order to sort of guide that intuition and sort of focus it. But other than that, you know, reading tarot is not about reading definitions from a textbook, as you all know. Um, if it were, then, you know, people wouldn't pay money for tarot readings. You know, it wouldn't be a skill. So clearly, there's more to it than that. And really, this is just a technique for allowing us to do that a little more efficiently. I do have a quick example for you uh, as far as how this technique works in practice. I did do a reading for someone last night using my trusty dusty Morgan Greer Tarot. Very, very retro. One of my favorite decks, I've realized. And it's also the deck that I learned to read with years ago now, which seems like forever ago. But yeah. So the reading, to give you the overall message of the reading was basically trying to tell my friend that he needed to trust his own abilities more, have more confidence in himself in order to develop his career in the way that he wants. And so his overall situation was the priestess. Crossing him was the King of Rods or King of Wands, basically, and on the bottom of his deck was the Ace of. Excuse me, the root position was the Ace of Swords, and on the bottom of his deck was the Five of Swords. So basically, I knew that the Ace of Swords and the Priestess sort of worked well together in telling me that he was experiencing a kind of revelatory period in life, that he was having some greater clarity, listening more to his own intuition about this, that he had some sort of realization, but that it was kind of like a double-edged sword. You know, the Ace of Swords can go either way. But I was not clear as to what the block was and what the King of Wands was. I sort of had a hunch, but I wasn't sure. And at that point, you have to look for extra details and extra help and extra connections that make sense. Now, the bottom of his deck, being the Five of Swords, that clued me in to realizing that the heart of this situation was really a confidence issue. And was an issue of feeling defeat in one way or another and perpetuating that defeat. And in that light, the King of Rods makes so much more sense as a block. Throughout the reading, he had been trying to interpret it as a literal person, his boss. Oh, that's my boss because he and I are having problems or whatever. And while that may be the case, that might be the literal interpretation of it. That isn't necessarily the most helpful way of interpreting it, And when I was able to connect the idea of the Five of Swords, which is defeat, with the King of Rods being reversed or blocked or however you want to see that, the King of Rods is all about confidence and having a big personality and leadership skills and all this stuff. And my friend does have leadership skills and is very talented and very good at what he does. But he lacks the confidence in himself, and that connection sort of allowed us, was the linchpin for the rest of the reading. The rest of the reading started to make a whole lot more sense. And he was able at that point to then embrace more clearly that overall message of the reading that I was trying to get him to understand. And that was only possible via the bottom card of the deck. Who knew? So I encourage you all to try this technique when you're using positional spreads. I don't use it when I use the opening of the key because there's obviously no point in that since you use all the cards in the deck. There's no point. But whenever I do a positional spread of any kind, 3 card, 15 card, 10 card, doesn't matter. As long as it's positional, I always use the bottom cards of the deck. I sift through up to 10 max for me. If you want to do up to 11, 12, 22, whatever number you feel is esoterically significant or works for you, go for it. Hey. But I like to stop at a point, but that's up to you. And that's really it. So I'm curious if you guys have used this before, or try it out for me and see what you think. See if it works for you, if it helps. If it doesn't help, anything like that, if you have any questions about it. And if you do sort of subscribe to my resonance technique or all that, then I consider that bottom card to be a part of the spread, sort of the Da'at card, the 11th card that isn't supposed to be there but is anyway. And there's your esoteric explanation for it right there. There is your legitimization of this technique. It can represent Da'at in this situation, in the reading. That actually works pretty well. Who knew? You learn something new every day. Okay, so that's about it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I hope this makes sense. I know I haven't posted anything for a long time. Like I said, it's mostly because I have been so frustrated with YouTube. I want to write an impassioned open letter to YouTube and just like bitch about everything because it drives me crazy. But other than that, I also just haven't felt like I've had much to say lately. I've been sort of taking a break from some of this stuff. Because I felt like it was a little overkill for a while there, and I just needed to distance myself from it. But I'm kind of ready to get back into it, and I thought this was a really interesting question and worth talking about with you guys. So if you have any other questions kind of like that, shoot me a message or something. All right, and of course you can, if you are interested in receiving a reading from me, you can purchase one from my blog. The link for that should be in my channel. If not, I will place it in the description below. And please note that I am not selling Opening of the Keys anymore. The option to purchase one is still there, but I will not do one for you. Just because I feel, as I said, I think I said in my last reading, if you watched it, I just feel like it's too vague, it's too hit or miss, and I don't like the uncertainty of that. I don't trust myself enough reading the Opening of the Key for other people, to be perfectly honest with you. I feel very confident in my abilities with other types of spreads, namely the Celtic Cross, because that is surefire success. The Opening of the Key, unless I have you directly in front of me, that's not going to happen. So please keep that in mind. Basically, I am offering Celtic Crosses. If you would like a 15 card spread, I am thinking of starting to offer those. So if you are interested in that, shoot me a message. And that's the kind of 5 sections, of 3 cards. Some people call it the tot spread. I always call it just the 15 card spread. I don't think it really needs a fancy name. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And yeah, thank you very much for all the subscriptions, all the comments, all the support, all the love. I appreciate it all the time, and I'm eternally grateful to have a body of people in the world that appreciate what I do on here. So I really, really do appreciate it. So thank you very much, guys. Love you all, and hope you're enjoying spring. Much better than winter. All right. And I'll hopefully see you all soon. All right. Bye.